Hey guys, we're back again. That is Thomas Arnold and myself, Andre Seegers.
Yeah, he's not just Jimmy Thang or random people we find on the street.
That's right.
The guy who runs GameXplain.
That's right. So this time we're going to discuss our general thoughts on the E3 show floor. Because we've already talked about, assuming you're watching our videos in order, which you're probably not, we already delved into pretty specific discussions about a lot of the games we played. And now we're going to talk about the show in general. And we'll talk about the games as well. But this is more for a general overview. So make sure to check out the videos we did for the other games if you want to see really specific talk and our thoughts on them. So let's start with the press conferences. What did you think of the press conferences in general? What did you like? What didn't you like? What do you think worked well? What didn't?
Unfortunately, I think what most people know by now, the press conferences were all disappointing.
Yeah, there were no surprises really at all.
We knew everything, and then when there was a surprise, we didn't really care about it.
Right. Like I remember after so on the Monday it was Microsoft in the morning, Sony at night, and both of them, Microsoft showed off nothing new really. They showed off like a new Kinect XBLA game. It's like whatever, and then they showed off Halo 4, which I think looks good.
Yeah.
And what else do they have? They had Gears of War.
Gears of War, which everybody knew about already. That the Epic, Tim Sweeney from Epic, I believe, already confirmed it in a tweet, saying, "Yep,
right.
It's coming out."
That's right, they did.
And it's being made by people who can fly, the guys behind Bulletstorm, and before that, Painkiller, before Epic bought them.
Right. I mean, the biggest announcements Microsoft had was Smart Glass, which we'll get back to in a second, actually. So then after Microsoft were like, well, there was nothing new there. We knew about most of these things.
Well, I like to say, though, they did have that Nike Kinect game, which actually looked like a supercharged Wii Fit.
Oh, that's true.
That actually looks useful if people want to get in shape. It's probably not fun.
Right.
But for those people who want to exercise, it'll be good. And the best moment was seeing Matt Stone and Trey Parker on stage just talking about
that's true. That was great. That game, the South Park RPG, I forget what it's called, looks really good, and Matt Stone and Trey Parker were hilarious on stage.
Yeah.
So anyways, after Microsoft press conference, we were like, well, that was disappointing, and no announcements there.
No surprises, though, because it was disappointing last year for you. The Xbox conference.
Oh, that's true. I guess okay, I take it back. It was what I expected to be, and I actually thought they had a better showing this year than they did last year, but there were no surprises. Then Sony came up, and they had some, they showed off some, good games again. They had All-Stars, and they had God of War. They showed off God of War, right?
Yes, they did, for a huge chunk. The elephant guy, that's the biggest part.
Oh, that's right, the elephant guy, and then what other games did they have there?
I believe the biggest announcement was at the beginning, in terms of games that we care about, was that Beyond game by the Heavy Rain guys.
Right.
That was the most interesting looking, but we didn't actually see any gameplay because it's the Heavy Rain guys.
Right.
And who knows if we'll play it yet.
Now the bigger shocker about the Sony conference is that they showed off almost no Vita games, which is what they really needed to focus on, because the Vita has not been selling well.
Yeah, they announced exclusive Vita-only games, but they were different takes on existing franchises.
Right.
Like you have Assassin's Creed with a woman. I think they have Modern Warfare of some sort.
Yeah.
Like a special Vita one. And there was one other one that I can't even remember.
Yeah, because they didn't focus on them at all.
Yeah.
And then they announced that they're working with the Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling on a book, and that actually got or on a interactive AR book, and actually got a lot of applause. And then they actually demonstrated it, which was first off super boring. Secondly, it didn't really even work that well in the live demo, which, as these live demos almost never tend to.
I believe, especially with stage lighting, that game that has a motion control is basically screwed.
Well, really, yeah, that relies on a camera.
Yeah, camera lighting, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, Sony, very few major announcements overall as well. No major surprises at all. And then we're like, okay, well, hopefully Nintendo, they have the Wii U, hopefully they'll save the day, they'll save E3, they'll make it, have some major announcements. And they had announcements, Just none of them were that good. None of them were like announced as people wanted.
Well, it started off with Pikmin 3,
Right.
and we're all going, yeah, let's keep this ball rolling.
But we knew Pikmin 3 was coming. Although it was disappointing to find out that it only used the Wii remote. It didn't really use the gamepad much. But yeah, that was a good start. And then it was just a whole bunch of third-party stuff, some of which look good, but a lot of them are ports, like Mass Effect and...
You can't really get excited about Batman.
Yeah, so Batman happened already.
Like, it's the same Batman, they just got some Wii U features, but you can't really get excited about that.
Then they dedicated about 3 minutes to the 3DS, which is still more time than Sony did with the Vita.
Yeah.
And then they announced their other big title, which was Nintendo Land.
Well, they showed the Lego one beforehand.
Oh, the Lego game actually
which they mentioned last year.
Which actually looked pretty funny. Yeah, but then they had a Nintendo Land, which I thought the unveiling of that was horrible.
They could have done that way better.
Right, because basically what they did is they showed off. I think they first off showed you the hub of the game.
Yeah.
Which is the most boring part of the game, and then they showed you only one of the mini games, being Luigi's Ghost Mansion. And they showed you in the worst possible way. It's a very simple concept. It's like Pac-Man Versus on Wii U, except they spent 5 minutes breaking down the game, explaining every mechanic, and they actually ended up making it more confusing. I think I was telling you earlier, it's like explaining a joke. It takes away the fun. Like it's there's nothing there.
They're trying to explain, it's like, come on, this joke is funny.
Exactly. It's like, hey, this game is fun. This game's clever, and it is, but they didn't need to explain that in detail. So overall, all 3 press conferences were disappointing, I thought. Did you agree with that then, Tom?
Yeah, basically, I have my fingers crossed for a Rare game, Microsoft conference.
Right, no Rare game.
I know it's not going to happen, really, but because it's probably not till next generation. But I had my fingers crossed all the same, didn't happen. Sony, at one point, they're going on about the gamer. And basically, like, they're pleading, or saying, like, thanks for sticking with us. And normally, they always say, this is going to be the year, and it's like, it was almost as if they gave up this year.
It kind of felt that way. Like, it really did feel like Microsoft and Sony are just buying their time until their next generation consoles.
Yeah.
Which, I wonder, since if Nintendo announced Wii U last year, and is only releasing it this year, does that mean that Sony and Microsoft finally announced their consoles next year won't come out to 2014?
I'm guessing that might be the case. At least with one of them, Sony says they don't care about the timing, they just want the most powerful one.
Yeah, well, it seems like both of them are willing to ride out their current consoles as long as possible. Like, this is the longest generation ever, and who knows how much longer they're going to ride it out for. But I hope they announce something next year, but it did seem like this year they're just biding their time,
Yeah.
Anyways, even though the press conferences were disappointing, I think actually getting out onto the show floor was better. But sorry, do you have something to say?
Well, no retro game for Wii U as well.
Oh yeah, no retro game too.
That was my biggest disappointment.
That was by far the biggest disappointment. I agree. But I think playing games on the show floor was actually helped alleviate some of that disappointment because there was a lot of things to like out there.
Yeah, I thought, playing games, that's why we're here, not just watching it on the internet at home.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that's true. It is strange. Yeah, like everyone basically has the same experience at the press conferences now. There's really no reason to go to see them in person anymore.
Except the free food, which you didn't get.
Thanks for rubbing that in. Or we're talking to the audience.
Well, audience and Andre. Andre in particular, guys. Andre in particular, you guys can get food from your fridge at home.
That's true. I was just starving at that press conference because I was late and didn't get any free food that somebody had. Yeah, so what was your favorite game from the show floor? What things did you really enjoy seeing? What was your favorite thing to play?
I enjoyed Zombie U.
Zombie U, that was your overall favorite game of the show? I don't know if I have one. I think there's nothing to me stood out as being amazing this year, but a lot of things stood out to me as being a lot of fun, though. And I thought Sonic All-Stars, I actually really enjoyed Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. And then I also really enjoyed Nintendo Land, surprisingly. Even though I thought it was a disappointing showing at the press conference, once you dive into those games, even though they're pretty simple, there's a lot there to like. And I think that game's going to be something pretty special when it comes out.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about it, but Wii Fit U actually has more of a focus on the fun games and like exercising while doing them. So you don't just do those monotonous lunges or whatever. Like you do a lunge and you're trying to, I think, shoot guys at the same time that are coming after you that are muddy.
Right, that's right. You're aiming the gamepad.
Yeah.
At the same time as doing lunges and you're shooting them. Or were you blocking something?
You might have been blocking something too.
Or no, you had a hose, right? When you're
yeah,
down?
I think a hose, and when you press it down more, you shut up.
And then the other game was you put the Wii U gamepad on the floor and you're standing on the balance board and you kind of jump up, right? and then you tilt your body to land.
Yeah, you look down to try to see where to go on the gamepad.
Right, so you actually see yourself like coming back, like you're jumping on a trampoline. You actually see yourself coming back in onto a target, basically, or the trampoline target, and you're aiming yourself. It's really cool. It seems like a really unique use of two screens, I think.
Yeah, I hope the gamepad can withstand 180 pounds.
Now, I want to see more games take advantage. Okay, actually, no, that's another one. What did you think of the Wii U showcase?
I think it was a pretty good variety. Zombie U will take care of the hardcore demographic.
Right.
What was missing is maybe just more of Nintendo's IP.
Yeah, well, I thought Nintendo... Well, yeah, Nintendo only showed off, apparently, like, launch window titles.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, aside from Nintendo Land, none of them, first party at least, make really good use of the gamepad. They all use it in Pikmin 3 to map, and in Mario Wii U, it just shows the exact same thing as a TV, and you can tap it to place platforms.
Yeah.
Nintendo showed off no games that really showed a compelling, strong use of the gamepad in a deep single-player adventure, and that's something I think it needed to do better than it did. And the game that best showcased the Wii U gamepad was Zombie U, and that's from Ubisoft, which has had a rocky launch history, So that's kind of surprising. Yeah, I thought Nintendo should have done a better job showing off compelling uses of Wii U gamepad. And I also thought they should have done a better job showing off the 3DS. It had a very minimal part, both actually at their press conference and on the show floor. The only place to play Wii 3DS games besides in their VIP area, which we luckily were able to go to, was on the booth babes.
No complaints.
That's true. And they only had a few games playable, a few first-party games playable. There was only Luigi's Mansion 2 on the first day, and then New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the last day.
They also had Castlevania around the booth, and
that's not first party though. But
I know.
But you like that game, right?
Yeah, I was at first. I heard Castlevania coming to 3DS, and I thought, oh, I hope it's 2D. Then they said, oh, it's made by Mercury Steam. It's in 3D. And it's like, no.
Right.
But it's 3D or 2D, 3D. It actually just plays in 2D.
Right.
It loses a bit of the character because they're in 3D models and they can't be super detailed, but it is very close to a classic Castlevania experience.
It's good to hear. So, what was your least favorite game of the show?
I probably didn't play those.
That's true. Okay. Well, do you have a most surprising thing, or?
I was surprised to see sound shapes on PlayStation Network on a PlayStation 3. I don't have to buy Vita now. That game, I think everyone should check it out when it comes out. It's going to be cheap. Probably pretty.
Was it deeper than last year? Than what we played last year?
Yeah, we were also extremely rushed last year, but it was deeper, and it's really neat where as you do puzzles, you gain more notes, and the sound becomes more alive for the music.
Right. All right. Well, any other general thoughts on the E3 show? Any other highlights for you? Or lowlights, midlights?
I think the lowlights is just the highlight is Ubisoft, in my opinion.
Their conference, their launch,
their lineup.
Oh, the lineup, yeah.
Like, I don't even care about all of them.
Right.
But I can tell they're going to be good with Zombie U. Got a new Rayman. Like, that's not a port of Rayman Origins. It's a brand new Rayman for Wii U.
Right.
Basically, I think I was kind of disappointed by Microsoft just rehashing things. Basically, stealing Need for Speed with Forza. Like, they're already getting Need for Speed by Criterion this year. They don't need to do something else to compete with it.
That's true.
But that's maybe what they do for the Sony market. I guess you got Halo 4 coming for Xbox, but really that's about it. Sony, though, they had a lot of great titles coming to PlayStation Network, and it looks like they're willing to at least try to create new IPs, so they might sort of seem disappointing, but at the same time, they're new games that we don't know if they're good or not, so we can't really say.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm trying to think of... I think the highlight for me was probably... I really like Nintendo Land. The more I play that game, the more I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then also, again, Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed was a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to playing more of that. Lowlights, in general, was just a lack of excitement or lack of surprise all around.
Yeah,
everything was a known quantity.
Yeah, it's pretty much true for the entire show.
And also just Nintendo's, like, a lot of people complain about Nintendo's revealing of the Wii U last year, and then didn't do much better this year. Like, in fact, last year I would say they only showed demos of games that they only had demos you could play, and some of those actually made better use of the gamepad than the actual games they showed this year.
I highly enjoyed not having to wait through a 6-hour line to play Wii U. I was glad I got to play it multiple times.
And that's actually an interesting point. I was surprised how easy it was to play Wii U games. Like, only on the very first day was there a very small line to get into.
Nintendo Land.
We had to wait like 5 minutes to get into Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
And other than that, most of them were walk up. Like, each kiosk maybe had a short line. Maybe you had to wait 5 minutes or so. But yeah, it was really easy to get on. And I don't know if that's entirely a function of having way more Wii U's than last year, or if people just weren't as excited, or both. I'm not quite sure. So
it's got to be way more Wii U's. Most of them were 4 or 5 players even.
Right.
Kept that moving fast. I mean, when Zombie U, they only had a couple booths there, so I had to wait 45 minutes to play.
Zombie U was a long
That's the longest one I waited for. It was worth it at least.
Yeah.
And I played it for 24 minutes and screwed over people.
Hell yeah. Alright, well, any last minute thoughts or last thoughts on E3?
I think 3DS, despite not being there, is going to keep up some momentum this year.
Right.
And I think Nintendo did it just to try to play more cards for the Wii U as the year goes on for the eShop type titles and showing more functionality.
Yeah, I think they said they're going to show off more of the Wii U like in summer. So I'm hoping that they have more announcements to make.
Oh, and Resident Evil 6, I wanted to try that. Maybe that's disappointing with the show, that it's like this action-packed game.
Yeah, I thought I had read that they were going to make it less action-focused, than RE5, and then they showed this trailer or the beginning of the game. It looks way more action-based. It looks like an action movie. So
there's no way they keep up that pace the whole game. So
right.
I'm guessing they're trying to entice people with that, but that's not what we want.
Nope, I agree. Alright, well, I think that wraps up our E3 discussion. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
Alright, well, have a good one. Make sure to check out the rest of our discussion videos if you haven't already. There's a lot of good information there. So, alright, have a good one, guys.
See ya.